Hello and welcome to the Drummergy podcast. I am your host, Fred Fischer, aka Fredrock. Just like the hat says, Fredrock School of Drumming. Welcome. I have got to get a sip of coffee, clear out the the thing that's going on from sleeping. I hope everybody is doing great. Lots of stuff happening, going on. And today I'm going to be talking about achieving greatness. And I saw something on TV that sparked this idea to talk about. So I'll be getting into that here shortly. And as I'm talking, just as I started to go live, I didn't have sound. So I'm hoping that I have sound. Let's check. Let's check and see. Maybe. Come on. Yep, I do. Okay, good. Whew. I had my head. I didn't know something was going on correctly. So anyway, episode 113, we're going to be talking about achieving greatness. But first, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Chris says I do have sound. Today is so holidays. Some of them are funny and some of them are yeah, that makes sense. Today is Armed Forces Day. It is also Don't Cry Over Spilt Milk Day. So, I haven't spilled milk in a long time. I don't think they mean literally spilling milk. It's a what is it? I can't get my words together. Come on, Fred, snap out of it. Today is National Latte Day, which I will I don't have one of those at the moment, just regular coffee, but later today I will have a latte. We're out of milk. We need milk. Producer, we need milk. So we'll run some errands and get some groceries. Today is also National Guitar Day for all you guitar players out there. Today is your day. You have my permission if you'd like to go buy a brand new guitar on Guitar Day. Go visit your favorite store, your favorite salesman, and dig in. Grab that axe. It is also Extraterrestrial Culture Day. I don't know what that means. What's funny is I got on here and I started talking and I think I had 8 viewers. And as soon as I said now I have 1. As soon as I said it was National Guitar Day, the viewership just went away. Boom. Nobody's watching. I guess you all grabbed your keys and wallet and headed out the door to go buy your guitar. That must be what's happening. Valentine's Day is coming up on Friday, February 14th. Valentine's Day. Let's see. So my wedding anniversary is in September 21st. And so Mary and I have been married 28 years as of September of 2024. We officially started dating on Valentine's Day. At least that's the day that we checked off as being the day. So this Friday will be 30 years together with the Mrs. Producer, which is, it's great. That didn't sound very enthusiastic, did it? Well, it's great, I guess. All kinds of cool stuff happening. So, I played my first real show, I guess, if you want to call it a real show. It was a real show this past Saturday night, Saturday night with Cliff Miller at the Sapphire Room. And it was so good to really have a great show under my belt after my accident. I did play on January 3rd for a private event, which, I guess that's a performance technically, but it's one of those shows where you're just kind of background noise and you play for a little bit, then somebody gets up and talks for a while about their company and employees and things, and then you play a little bit more, and then they have dinner, and then I played at a church about 3 weeks ago now. That's like playing 4 songs, but this is like hauling in my gear, putting it all together, sound check, playing for 2 hours type of show. Excuse me. and it was great. It was there were so many great things leading into it. You have your step counter on your phone to see how many steps you take. Well, since I broke my leg, there were very few steps happening, and then once I was 4 months into it, I could start putting pressure on that leg, and I started getting some steps in, and I might have gotten in anywhere from 80 to 200 steps in a day when I first started putting weight on it. And then I got rid of the walker at the beginning of January and went to just one crutch, and then my step count got up to be like between 800 steps and 1,500. And then over the past, we're crawling up on 2 weeks of not walking with a crutch at all, just kind of limping around. And I was getting around, I don't know, 1,000 to 1,500 steps pretty regularly. And then Saturday, I did almost 6,000 steps. That was a huge increase. And I'll tell you, at the end of the night, I was spent. I was done. When I finally got in bed, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, but I had a big smile on my face because we played a cool show, and everything just went so well. So I've been going to physical therapy. And as you know, the producer hurt her leg. Also, she tore her hamstrings. So the two of us are quite the sight. But so we call it a couples therapy when we go to physical therapy. And that's definitely helping both of us. My leg extension being straight out is at 0 degrees where it's supposed to be. And then they want, when I bend my knee back, to be at 130 degrees. That's the goal. And so far I'm at 126. So I'm only 4 degrees away from the goal. And I still have swelling, but it's not nearly as bad as it has been. That's getting better and better. It's feeling better, just trying to build the strength back up so I can walk smoothly is the biggest thing at the moment. So but I did spend all previous week, you probably saw my posts about the big 26-inch bass drum I have, that worked out exactly how I had imagined in my head it would be, to have a concert bass drum sound. And you had to be a little different technique on the kick drum pedal, so that when the big fuzzy mallet hit it, there was very little attack, just a nice big warm booming sound that would come from it. And achieve that. It was great. It was so nice. And I did a drum set rundown video. You can find that here on my Facebook page or on my YouTube page. I just posted it last night, and you can get a closer view. And the other thing that I added to that was the student bell kit, which is also called, the nicer ones are called the glockenspiel. So I guess it depends on the angle of your nose how you're going to say that, but either is correct, a bell kit or a glockenspiel. And I had that set up to play on one song by Cliff called Crazy One, and he had this melodic line in there that was being missed when played live, because Cliff is normally playing guitar and singing, and it was just one of those added elements for the recording. And there wasn't any drums in the recording either. And now we're working on putting together a full band version of that song. And I played that little bell kit in the recording as well. So I'm playing it with my left hand, this melody line, and keeping time with my right hand. Thankfully, it's a simple pattern and it's all on downbeats. So it worked out. That was like the only thing I was really nervous about, is because, those bars on the bell kit are, I don't know, maybe they're an inch wide. And so hitting a wrong note is easy. Thankfully, I didn't hit any wrong notes. Greg is here. Good morning, Greg. Greg says, I always wanted to try one of those Ludwig John Bonham Vista Light kits with the 26-inch kick drum. Yeah. So Greg, Nick Learned is the drummer for the Rocky Johnson band, and he has that. So if you wanted to check that out, he's the guy to probably talk to. I played that kit once. We again with the Cliff Miller band, we played there on New Year's Eve a few years ago. 2 years ago. And Nick let me play his kit, so I didn't have to bring anything in, which was really, really cool. for him to do. So he has that Ludwig Vistalite kit with the 26-inch kick drum, and it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. So if you want to hear it, see it, talk to Nick. He knows what's going on with that. Probably way better than I do, because I mean, I don't have any experience with Vistalite kits at all, or let's see, acrylic kits are the other names that the other manufacturers use as acrylic kits. Again, no personal experience other than playing Nick's kit about 2 years ago. It was thunderous. That's for sure. So yeah, that kick drum came out great. The bell kit worked out great. But when that whole thing is set up, I'm like a little over 10 feet wide. And I was talking to Cliff yesterday, and I said, man, that thing was so enjoyable to play, but it takes up a lot of room. So a lot of places that we play would not be able to accommodate having such a wide footprint of drums. And it was discussed that maybe I have an electronic drum kit trigger pad. So that would take up way less space to have an electronic triggered sound. So I have a very old Roland drum kit. I don't remember if it's a TD4 or a TD6 Roland electric kit. But at any rate, I'm going to see if there's a big concert bass drum sound within the brain of that. And if so, I could probably just take the drum kick pad and a pedal and do that. And that's just going to add, just a second pedal right next to my bass drum. And I think that would work. And then we probably don't play Crazy One live unless we're doing like a special event like we did on Saturday. So taking the bell kit would probably not be necessary. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun to play that and pull it off. And getting all those steps in, that was just nuts. And then let's see. Also, that was happening on Saturday. My number 3 son, Ian, was playing tuba with this big thing at Boise State. So he was performing at the same time I was. And then my number 1 son, Christian, was playing with the Blue Knights indoor percussion program in Denver for a competition. So he too so there was 3 Fischers all putting on a performance at the same time in different locations. So we're Fischer strong here. Now, what would have been really cool is if, she would have missed, but if Mary would have been playing with her band somewhere, which was, good stuff. And let's see what else is going on. Super Bowl. When it comes to football, I don't have a favorite team. I know who very few of the players are. I don't understand all the rules and things like that, but I really enjoy the hang, and I enjoy watching it on TV, and I enjoy watching 2 different teams really battle it out, especially when scores are pretty close to be even throughout the whole game, and it gets down to the very last minute or so, and it's still anybody's game. That was not the case on Sunday for the Super Bowl. We were rooting on the Eagles, and the main reason, I guess 2. One is if you've seen the movie Invincible about Vince Papale making it onto the Eagles football team. That movie is really inspirational because if you don't know the story, Vince Papale was, I think he was around 30 years old, and he was bartending and being a substitute teacher and more or less out of work, and just all of this hardship going on. And then the Eagles had open tryouts, like anybody in the public could come and try out, and he was one of them. And of all the people who were there to do that tryout, they took a chance on him and brought him onto the team. And then the team went on to have all the success, and a lot of it due to Vince Papale being there. And so I like that story because it's one of those where, the impossible becomes possible, where people tell you no over and over and over that you can't do this dream. You're too old. You're too this. You're too that. And he was able to rise above that and still become a NFL football player against all the odds. I mean, just odds statistically being too old, didn't play college football, all of those kind of things. Now, see, now I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. I mean, as far as football is concerned. So that's an inspirational story. And the other reason to vote for the Eagles or to cheer them on was Kellen Moore, who had been, if I'm not mistaken, the most winningest quarterback in college history. I think that's the case. If I'm wrong, somebody can let me know, but I think that's correct. And then he went on to be on, I think, the Lions practice team or something. Like, he didn't make it onto the team. Then he ended up in Dallas, like the backup quarterback for that. And then when he got put in, he didn't do very well. And now he's being a coach, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. And then I think they just announced that he'll be the head coach for the Saints. And so it's kind of cool watching this Boise State University football player just keep rising and rising and rising and achieving all this greatness. And, so I think when your hometown football team has a player on it that excels like that, it's pretty exciting. And so that's why we're rooting for the Eagles. And then, of course, the game itself was a complete slaughter, and they just never took their foot off the gas. It was just go, go, go the whole time. Yeah, it would have been more exciting if Kansas City had been a little more involved, I guess, in the game. Again, I have no idea what all is going into that. But I do enjoy a fun football game. And it was fun hanging out with our friends and eating all the party foods, of course. Stuffed jalapeno poppers. Yum. Good stuff. So at the end of that game, the other thing that I did not like is they showed Taylor Swift, and then all these people started booing her for why, I don't know. And that, I'm not sitting here proclaiming to be a Taylor Swift fan. I know maybe 3 songs out of her catalog that I've heard and would recognize. It's not music that I'm interested in. But I don't have anything against Taylor Swift. I wouldn't boo her if I saw her. And if I'm not mistaken, tickets to the Super Bowl were like $6,000-$7,000 a ticket, which that's another thing that just blows my mind. But you think if people were spending that much money, they could afford some manners and not do that, booing Taylor Swift. And then everybody wants to talk about the halftime show, and I have nothing. If there was some political statement that was happening or whatever, it totally went by me. I wasn't connecting the dots, and I wasn't paying that close of attention either. I just know, like, as far as the set goes, it was pretty simple set as opposed to years and shows in the past. Nobody's clothes were falling off. It seemed on the surface, at least, to be a pretty clean show. But it's not my style of music whatsoever. And I think that would have a lot to do, number one, with being like why I wouldn't be that interested in it. It was just not something that I listen to or have an opinion about. I'm a rock and roll guy. Of course, I would just like to see a band play. And instead of having, 80 dancers on stage and all of that stuff. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I think people want to lean back into, how great Prince's performance was in the rain, performing Purple Rain. That was really, really impressive. What a magnetic musician he was. I would like to see more shows that are like that than anything. So there's my 2 cents on that. So we're going to get into this subject here in a second through. So when the Super Bowl was over, they're interviewing the Eagles head coach. What is his name? His name just escaped me. Dang it. Somebody knows. I wanted to say Aaron, but I don't. Maybe it's Nick. Somebody help me out here. What's the name of the head coach for the Eagles? While I try to find it out. Dang it. Head coach. I'm Googling it right now. Nick Sirianni. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. Nick, head coach. So they're interviewing him like right after the game was over. And he was pretty emotional. And apparently he's an emotional guy. I've never really seen any other interviews with him other than right when the game was over. And so I made a couple notes. He said this thing that really made an impact on me. And he said, you can't be great without the greatness of others. And that really struck a chord with me when he said that. For a couple reasons. One is last week around this time on a Tuesday, I think it was the beginning of last week sometime, I had watched an interview with a guy who is or was a band manager, managed all these bands and toured all over the world being a band manager. And it was really, really exciting, a lot of the stories he was telling. And, I've been out on the road and toured and dealt with a lot of difficult situations and benefited from a lot of successful things that happen. And so there's always going to be those ups and downs when you're touring. And, a lot of it, you spend your whole day traveling and then you, oh boy, here we go. The YouTube weirdos are appearing. When you're out touring, there's most of your day is spent doing either traveling or a lot of sitting around waiting. And that can be tiresome just in itself. And in Midline, we always called it the hurry up and wait game because you had to hurry up and get there and then wait around. And then hurry up and do this thing and then wait around. So it was the hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. All of that stuff constantly going on. So I get that. And the money can be up and down too, I guess, at the level that we were playing. But I always had this thing inside of me where I wanted to be part of a national act, a national touring act, an already successful, established band. Because it happens pretty frequently where you hear, oh, so-and-so's drummer got hurt or so-and-so's drummer got fired or whatever the situation was. And then they get a new drummer to come in and replace that guy. For instance, Larry Mullen Jr. from U2 had to step out of the role while I don't know what's wrong with him. He's got some medical condition and it's prevented him from playing. So U2 had to get a fill-in drummer. And I'm not even sure who they got, but those things come around. And I've been trying to position myself to be available for those kind of situations if they should arise, and trying to network. Well, I was watching this interview with this guy, and he had all these great things to say, and it's exciting things to say, only to wind up saying it's not glamorous. I get that. It could be a drain on your day. I get that, just like I said a moment ago. And often it doesn't pay very much. And if your motivation for doing it was because you're going to be paid really well, you're going to be disappointed. And so there suddenly was all this negative energy in that interview that I was walking, and it was really, it affected me in a way that I didn't expect, where it just really bummed me out for several days. I was like, man, I was really looking at myself in the mirror going, you got a successful teaching business, which I do. I keep growing more and more legs with my remote recording business. We're getting more and more people coming through the door of our little studio to do recording. And so that's slowly gaining momentum. Mary is starting to get some work singing for people. So there's all these really cool things that are happening for us, but I still have this burning desire to travel and tour and be playing in big shows. Not on tour playing bars and things. I've done that, my whole life. But I do have this desire, and I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful for that, because I really am, and those tend to be pretty fun to still do those things. And it's part of my income that I get as well. So, when I was really bummed out, I ended up talking to a really great friend of mine who helped pull me out of that slump. and I can't remember everything that was said, but it's good to get around people who support you and believe in you and what your capabilities are, and to tell you not to give up on that dream and to keep moving forward. So when the head coach of the Eagles said on Sunday, you can't be great without the greatness of those around you, I thought, wow, that really made an impact on how I felt. And it's true. It's like, who do you surround yourself with? Who's in your circle? I think that, and not only did he say that, he was really appreciative of his staff and his family and his faith. Those three things, those three things were really, really apparent in what kind of character he is as a coach, and not just because his team won the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into just getting to that point, and then to come out victorious at the end. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and I think he was expressing his appreciation for those people around him. So I then started, like, over the last 48 hours or so that has been, is what does that mean to me? And not only what does it mean to me, but what does that mean to the people that I talk to in person and in this particular format? Is what am I doing to help encourage people? And then, coming back to my friends encouraging me, like the guy that helped pull me out of my slump. And, I always think, I've said so many times about how important Matt Starr is to me, and where my career sits now. So much was due to his encouragement to be able to do these things. Because when I first wanted to become a more active drum teacher, a music teacher, and how that was all going to work, there were so many people around me that laughed at that, or that said good luck with that, or because of where I'm located, that would be hard to get people to come to where I am. And so there was all these negative things, and and included in those things, well, what if it doesn't work out? How are you going to feed your family? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? There's always those people that surface and say, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when it fails? What if it doesn't fail? And it hasn't failed. That doesn't mean I sit around idly not doing anything. I'm always trying to promote my Fredrock School of Drumming teaching business, and advertise that I'm available to track drums for people. And there's a lot of work out there that people can listen to and say, oh, I would like Fred to drum on my music. Those kind of things. And it was the same thing when I had this room I was teaching in and having rehearsals in. And then I said, I want to figure out what recording equipment to buy and microphones so that I can record from right here. And even some of the people I was playing music with really were super skeptical about if that would actually work or not. And kind of living in this frame of mind, like, in order to record, you have to go to a studio. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to a studio, but there became this element to it where I could offer those services to record drums for people, because I had flown to LA a handful of times recording drums for people and really seeing the process of how that worked, to be a hired gun to come in and start recording for people. So when I started researching what I should get, the cost involved with all, and I think that I've always had an entrepreneurial, is that how you say that? I try to say that word and I feel like my mouth goes, entrepreneurial spirit in doing things, and researching those out and finding out how much it costs, and putting a plan together based off of that. And some of it would be called a WAG, a WAG. If you don't know what a WAG is a wild ass guess. So there you go. You can carry that around in your pocket. So some of it was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. But, when I had this idea to do that, people were like, good luck with that. There's kind of like, you're going to spend a lot of money and time and effort wasted because you're not going to get the results that you think you're going to get. Well, guess what? They were wrong. I am getting the results I wanted to, and then some. It's worked out quite well. So, when you get people around you that are telling you how difficult something is to accomplish, and, is it really worth your time and efforts to be that involved with wanting to do something? Couldn't you just play it safe? Couldn't you just play it safe? Can't you just be happy with what you have? Those kind of things. I used to own my own landscaping business, and I had a lot of people in my ear telling me, like, I needed to double down on that. Like, you've already built a name in town with your landscaping business and had success doing that. Like, just do more of that. I know you're incredibly miserable, but double down on being incredibly miserable and stressed and worn out. It's just like, not very appealing. So, surrounding yourself by people who say, yeah, this is possible and this is how you do it. Find people who know how to do those things and talk to them and figure out how that all works. So when I saw the coach's comment about, in order to have greatness, you need to have the greatness of those around you, started doing a little research on what that means. So I just Googled. Google is my friend. I asked Google, what does it mean to achieve greatness? And this is the result I get. It said, achieving greatness is a process that involves having a strong desire, a good purpose, and a positive mindset. It also involves working hard, being smart, and having the courage to take risks. The producer's here. She says, you know what? Let's do this little thing. It's a good thing that Mrs. Fischer said this. She said, can't you just be happy being miserable? Yeah. Can I double down on being miserable? If I double down on how crummy my situation is, maybe that'll be how I crawl out of that hole. Yeah. It's being surrounded by those things. Mary doesn't do a lot of interviews, but I think that she should do some, because I think Mary has a great story. Those who know Mary, the producer, she has a pretty good set of pipes on her for singing. And she's very humble about it too. But she's told me, like, as she was growing up and wanting to play different instruments, or I think she even said, wanting to sing and being a band, that people just laughed at her and thought it was stupid and kind of mocking her in those kind of things, and uh, really discouraging. And when you get people discouraging all the time, it's really hard to have a healthy mindset. Let's see. Here's James Harrison. My buddy James says, I think the skepticism from others could also be a concern for you. The huge difference is you have drive and passion, and that's why you're succeeding. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. I've mentioned too, James here, my buddy James is one of those people that really encouraged me when it came to teaching. When I started teaching, I thought, well, how many students do I need to survive? and my rate has gone up 3 times. I got to raise the seat a little bit. There we go. I've had 3 rate increases since I started teaching, and didn't lose any students due to that. And I feel like I'm in a really good place with what I'm charging for lessons. But when I first got started, I needed I had to have a minimum of 35 students to pay my bills and to have a little extra. And then I thought, well, if I have 40 students, that gives me a little more room to wiggle, I guess. And then as my rates went up, I've been way more comfortable in my situation. But I thought, man, are there actually 35 people in Boise or the surrounding area that actually want to take drum lessons? It seemed like such a high number and seemed like a lofty goal to hit that. And I remember before I went full time, I kept hitting about the 20 mark. I remember when I had 18 students, I thought just 2 more and I'm at 20. I'm halfway there. And it felt like it took forever to hit 20. And then I did. And then when it hit 28, I was like, oh, I'm getting closer and closer to that goal. And finding that people were willing to invest the time to drive to me and take lessons. So it just kept going and going. And then I remember when I finally hit 38 students and I was like, oh, okay, I have what I need. I just want those 2 more. I want to hit that 40 mark so hard. And that felt like it took months and months and months before I hit 40. And then once I did, maintaining 40 got pretty easy to maintain that. And now I'm at 43. And so I'm like, maybe I'll get to 50. And it's this little game I play in my head, I guess. So, but thank you, James. James is a big help in pursuing that. Let's see, who else did I miss? Joseph is here. We'll probably, let's see. Joseph said, morning, Fred. Thanks for the video rundown of your kit. Very nice. Glad you're back to gigging. Wish I was closer so I could meet you and see you play live. Yeah, man. I hope our paths cross. That's why I got to be out on tour with somebody. That would be fun. That would be really cool. All right. So when I Googled this achievement of greatness, it's not that I'm trying to bring some kind of spotlight on myself. Gary, the Sapphire Room was great. It was I needed that for my soul, for one, to be able to do that. I felt like I feel like I'm back with that show, which was great. So achieving greatness, it's not from a standpoint of having accolades for myself or anything like that. It's just a personal goal of mine is to be a national touring drummer. Will that happen? I don't know the answer to that. But as with everything else, is if you're putting the effort out there and doing the work, then you don't have to worry about what the outcome's going to be. And that's been true with the other things that I've set out to do, is I put in the work and put in the effort, and like legitimately, not half-heartedly or anything, like all my chips are in. and then not worry about the outcome, because if you do those kind of things, more than likely the outcome is going to be what you want it to be, because you did put in the work and took the right steps. So asking Google, Google gave me 8 steps or 8 bullet points uh, to consider in achieving greatness. Excuse me. So, and many of these I've covered over the last 2 years, but they're kind of consolidated now. One was to set goals. Write down your goals, be very specific, and goals that you can measure. And, you could have this big lofty goal that you want to reach, but having, there's steps that you have to take to get there. And each one of those steps can be a goal or a thing that you're checking off your list of things that you accomplished. Number 2, this one's big for me, is visualizing, like picturing yourself in those situations. And so visualize, think about the steps you need to take in order to achieve those things. And it goes way back to me even building this room. I built this room 13, maybe 14 years ago now. It's got to be somewhere in that vicinity of how long ago I built this room. Number one reason is so that I would have a place to practice at home. Since I've been married, I've never practiced at home until I built this room. My band always had a room that we rented somewhere that we had practice in. And then, so my own personal practice had diminished a lot. It was just playing songs all the time and writing songs and doing that. But I visualized building this room, and I built it. And then it didn't sound very good in here. So then the next thing was to figure out how to improve the sound so that it sounded good in here. And I got the right people involved to say, oh, you need to put these panels here and do this and this to the ceiling and these things to the wall. And it really focused this room to where things sound great in it. And on top of that, like I said a few moments ago, was like being able to record. Well, what do I need to do that? I wanted to have a studio feel. The environment to me was really, really important. And so I visualized what that would look like, what that would entail, what are the elements that I liked being in the environments when I would go record at studios, whether it be locally or, going down to Los Angeles to record. And I've recorded in several different studios there, big and small. And every single one of them had a vibe to it. And it made for a nice work environment where your ideas could flow freely and be inspiring. And so that was me visualizing this space and visualizing the space for the control room and visualizing the space that's on the outside of this door with the waiting room and students and guests coming and going. So that was part of a visualization process for me. Number 3 is being grateful, appreciating the journey, and maintaining a positive mindset, which that was something I was struggling with a week ago. I was kind of down in the dumps because I had heard this guy talk, and it was really discouraged me. And I was like, man, if that's the case, why would anybody do this? if it's so miserable, and it doesn't pay, like, who in their right mind would go and do that? That's just, it seemed like I was getting conflicting stories from the beginning of this guy's interview to the end. Bummed me out. But being grateful, appreciating the journey, and maintaining a positive mindset. And again, it's surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging, who not just that they're encouraging me, that whatever I'm doing, I can encourage them in whatever their pursuits are as well. Comes back to that iron sharpens iron thing. I mean, the other thing that you hear, I don't know if it's cliche to say, but birds of a feather flock together. And when you start getting around people who are negative, they're more likely to change you than you are to change them. That negativity is so strong, so powerful. And you get those ideas put in your head over and over and over, negative, negative, you can't, impossible, blah, blah, blah. And that seems to be more powerful than people saying, yeah, you can do these things. So when you're just get out of those circles, get out of those situations. And that to me includes social media. When I'm talking to people face to face about social media and they talk about how awful it is, well, yeah, it definitely can be, but you can also do things to prevent that from being an awful experience. It's, you don't have to make an announcement. If you don't believe how I believe, then go ahead and delete me, block me. Why? Why? Why make that announcement? If there's people out there that bother you that bad, just quietly go delete them. You don't need to make an announcement. You don't need to stand on your little mountain and scream and shout that you're right and everybody else is wrong. It's we live in a world where people have different feelings and views on things, and that's just how it is. No matter there's no escaping it, except you can clean up your news feed and either unfollow those people or block them or delete them or whatever measures you have to take. But you can clean that up. My Facebook and my YouTube and my Instagram and TikTok and all those different places I'm on, very little negative stuff that's happening in there because I've designed it to be that way. So be grateful. Surround yourself with people who are encouraging. And then if there's somebody that's, completely opposite of you, you can disagree with people and not hate them. This word hate gets thrown around so loosely anymore. It's like, I don't think it means what it means anymore. Yeah. Anyway, that could go a whole another direction. Being resilient. I guess that ties into me being bummed out last week. Self-confidence, persistence, and having a growth mindset. So when those little things come along and they're pecking and chipping away at whatever you're excited about, you got to be resilient to that and then discard it, get it out of your life. Be bold, take risks, be willing to make failure matter. Oh man. Yeah, along this whole journey, I've had many things that have failed, but it didn't stop me. I thought, oh, okay, well, that thing didn't work. Let's not do that again. Not double down on it like it was suggested to me in the landscaping business. Yeah. Like Mary said, can't you just be happy being miserable? Well, I've got a great wife, and so I'm miserable in a different way. Oh, I joke, I kid. She is pretty awesome. Where did I leave off? Be bold, take risks. Yeah, taking risks too. That comes back to your comfort zone. Some people won't do something because it makes them uncomfortable, even though that if they actually follow through with what's making them uncomfortable, uh, they would end up with the results that they're after. I would say I don't experience it so much anymore. I'm not 100% out of this way of thinking, but sometimes when I'm reaching out to somebody I don't know and I'm looking for answers to something, I get a little nervous. I sometimes get a little nervous. When I was younger, I got really, really nervous, but I've done it so many times over and over and over that I'm not really scared to reach out to people and say, hey, introduce myself and, hey, what do you think about this? Or I appreciate this thing about you or whatever. I've mentioned before, I've reached out to Kenny Aronoff a handful of times, and he always responds to me. And he doesn't know me from Adam, but what a true pro to follow up and get back to people. That makes a huge impression on me. And I hope I get to meet that guy someday. I think I will. I think our paths will eventually cross, and I'll get to shake his hand and say thanks. So just, the more you get out of your comfort zone, the larger your comfort zone becomes. And that's a good thing. That's a really great thing. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I count that right? 2, 4, 6. Okay. Yeah. Good morning, Thomas. Thomas, how's your injury healing up? Are you getting closer to drumming again? So I said, be bold, take risks, be willing to make failure matter. Yeah, learning from mistakes, that's really important. Number 6, I feel like I'm super SE. Have patience, be consistent and disciplined. Consistency and discipline in that is really, really important. The first thing was to set goals. Well, if you're not disciplined in setting those goals and following through, then not much is going to happen. If you're kind of erratic in your approach, your results are going to be really erratic. Matt started a great video yesterday. You should go watch it on his Facebook page about momentum, keeping momentum going. I don't want to steal anything really away from his video, but it was really impactful too. So go watch Matt Starr's video from yesterday about momentum. And I think that falls in line with being consistent and disciplined in what you're doing, and having the patience for that. Thomas says, probably no drumming for at least a few more months. Oh, man. That's a drag. Well, but when I broke my leg and I was looking at this forecast of all the things I couldn't do for an extended period of time, that was mentally taxing and upsetting. And I know you're in the middle of your injury right now, and I'm at the edge of getting out of mine. So it does happen. It does come back around, and you will be back up and running. And I have no doubt. And we should get together when that happens and have a drink. That would be great. Let's see, number 7. And I kind of tied this in a moment ago, is asking for help. Don't be afraid to reach out to others. And when you reach out to others for help or for advice, and please reach out to people for help and advice that know more than you, not somebody who's on the same level of you or that's below you in their career for advice. I think that's where the negative stuff. Don't go to somebody that had all this failure and never made it to their goal. Go find the people who are on their way to their goals or have their goals figured out. Those are the people that you want to interact with. Again, greatness comes from being surrounded by those who are great. So find those people for advice. And then number 8 would to be a good role model. Pay it forward and serve others. What does it mean to be a good role model? Is being a good role model those people I mentioned earlier who have their hands on their hips and they're shouting from their little mound, their little king of their little mountain, where they're saying, if you don't agree with me, go ahead and block me and delete me. Is that a good role model? I wouldn't think so. I think we've lost some kind of ability to have discussions with people that we don't agree with without being called names. Anyway, that goes back to keeping your news feed clean too. Yeah, I don't think that person's a good role model. And I'm not sitting here saying, look at me, I'm such a great role model. I'm saying I've done all this work out of encouragement and advice from people who were really successful doing these things that I'm doing. And that gets exciting. I get excited about that. That's like part of the Drummergy way of thinking. Like, what is Drummergy? Some people have asked me what Drummergy is. It's this drumming, the active drumming, and everything that surrounds drumming music, and then the love and passion for that creates this energy. So it's this love and this desire, and sometimes it's hard to articulate exactly how those feelings make me feel. But taking those two worlds together, drums and that energy, becoming Drummergy. It's similar to the word synergy. Synergy is taking two standalone elements that, when combined, are beneficial for each other, having that synergy. So the producer's version of that came out to be Drummergy. So there we go. Being a good role model. And that's like carrying the torch forward. So my first drum teacher was Dave Goff. Those in the local scene here in Boise may know of Dave Goff. And so I started taking drum lessons from Dave when I was 10, and I think that Dave was 17 or 18. I think he was a senior in high school. I think he's 7 or 8 years older than I am, ish, around there. I remember when I already knew Dave. His mom was my Sunday school teacher. So when I went to my first lesson, Dave was so smiley and he was so excited about drums, and he hadn't taught drum lessons, but I was a little kid. So, I mean, what harm could there be? Just showing me a love for an instrument that he had all this love for and passion about. And to this day, he's still really excited about drums and passionate about drumming. He was over here, I think, about 2 weeks ago, picking up some cymbals from me, and just his enthusiasm for drumming was really contagious. And so that was a good role model for me when I was 10. And I took lessons from him until he went off to college, I believe. Excuse me. And then I started finding drum lessons at American Music in Caldwell. And I took lessons from a guy by the name of Jeff Beal. And he too was excited about drums. It's really rare for me to come across a guy that plays drums who's not excited about playing drums. I've yet to come across any legitimate drummer who goes, yeah, drumming, whatever. Yeah, they kind of have this sort of thing about. Usually when I come across people who are drummers, they're like, yeah, man, I got this new drum head. I got this new cymbal. I got these cool sticks. You can geek out talking about gear. You can geek out talking about shows. It's just, and sharing that passion, enthusiasm. And you can do that with a complete stranger who's a drummer. It's, we just have this connection. So being a good role model, like I had these teachers that were so great. And I've talked about my high school band director being the yes man and being really encouraging. And he was a really great role model. So in a way, I feel like I have almost a responsibility, for one, to carry that torch and keep that going and passing that on to my students, and not just my students, but other people that I play music with. Like, more and more and more and more, I just want to be that guy that's part of the team that's doing what I can to make the thing successful and to be fun and enjoyable. Because there are things that come along that will make you trip on your shoelaces. So look down, make sure your shoelaces are tied so you don't trip. And paying it forward and serving others. Yeah, just being a great team player, being excited. I think that stuff is contagious in a good way. It's just, I don't know what else to say as far as that goes. I don't know how else to explain my bliss in playing the drums. Does anybody else have anything to weigh in before I wrap this up? Yo, Chip Ritter. Chip is another guy in my life that has been a great friend. Especially through through my accident, I was laying in the hospital in Indianapolis and got a phone call from Chip asking how I was doing, and man, he just prayed for me on the phone, and I couldn't tell you when the last time anybody did that for me. That was a really impactful moment for me, for Chip to do that and just to and have me on a prayer list for healing, and then our discussions that we had, um, some stuff he went through and how he dealt with that was just really great conversation, and Chip's an awesome friend to have in my life, and I appreciate you, Chip Ritter. You're the man, man. And Chip gets on here once in a while and gives me a yo, and then when Chip's podcast is going, the Drummer's Education Connection, I I put the same thing in the comments, yo. And so it's this thing that Chip and we always go back and forth with, and that's fun. And those little things just make your day. Just make your day. Make your day. Jim McCrosty. Jim is always here for comic relief. Jim says, would you say you have any PTSD or irrational fear of scooters these days? Yes, Jim, 100%. That accident really put in perspective on what risks am I willing to, and I wasn't even thinking about it in those terms. Riding a scooter, just a freak accident, set me back. We're into this 6 months now, and it's been a struggle. There's been a lot of great stuff too, but overall it's been a struggle. And to finally be able to walk around, not in any kind of smooth manner, a very hobbly kind of manner, because I got to build up that strength. It's like, Jim, I'm selling my motocross bikes. Like, that's something I really enjoy doing, riding motocross bikes. I've spent my life riding motocross bikes. When I was younger, I took a lot more risks, like jumping higher and farther than people should. And sometimes I would do that just on my own, by myself, out in the desert. And, had I gotten hurt really bad, nobody would know where to find me. Those kind of things. So the immortal years are over for sure. I think I'm going to keep a bicycle because I do like riding around the neighborhood but I have no desire to be jumping bikes anymore, or the scooter thing in Indianapolis. It's a great way to get around the town really quickly. Had I just crossed the street where I normally would have crossed, nothing would have happened. I would not have this story whatsoever. And I just think that sometimes, dare I say, I think sometimes God allows these things to happen in our life for a reason. And those reasons, we don't immediately understand why that happened. And so that's the place I'm in at the moment. I don't understand the reason for that, but I think somewhere down the line, I will be thinking, had that not happened, I would not be at this point in my life and this good thing happening. And I really do believe that will be the case. So I'm in that lane right now where I don't know what the purpose of this was. It's very painful and hard to come back from. So there you go. Achieving greatness, just like the coach from the Eagles said, is in order to be great, you have to surround yourself with the greatness of others. And I think that's really good. Hopefully that's an encouraging thing for you guys today. And anybody that watches this in the future, it's always good stuff. Last week I had Cliff Miller on as a guest, which was a blast to have him here, and it was good to help promote the show too. And then, I was originally intending to have a guest once a month, but I may see if I can get somebody on the show with me next week, and start reaching out to some people, and because I mean, having another person sitting here and talking is really pretty cool and fun to do. So I'll have to put my thinking cap on about that and see if we can make that happen. That would be fun. Let's see what else. I will be talking about this subject probably a few months down the road. Another drummer friend of mine by the name of Jeff Mann, who lives in Arizona, and I believe he is a student of Chip Ritter's. He messaged me and he said, I think it would be great if you guys talked about on the Drummer's Education Connection about playing to a click live or backing tracks. And I said, well, I'm not part of that core group of dudes, so I will send that on to Bart Robley and see what he has to say. And so I forward that message from Jeff on to Bart. And that's what they're going to talk about today on the Drummers Education Connection, which you can watch here on YouTube or Facebook. Drummers Education Connection, all one word on Facebook, or just Google, just search it on YouTube and you'll find it. So they will be talking about that. So drummers, check it out. And you don't have to be a drummer to check it out and understand the importance of that. Bart, you're like the guy that shows up at the restaurant when they are just done serving breakfast. Did you just finish pumping iron, Bart? Ladies and gentlemen, Bart Robley is right here in the comments, and I know he goes to the gym pretty regularly. I think I might not be too far off, but I think it's like an everyday occurrence. The other thing, when Bart posts pictures of him at the gym, there's nobody else there. I think Bart might be the only one in Southern California who's concerned about health and fitness. Bart, someday you and I will celebrate Taco Tuesday and coffee at the same time, okay? And we'll get Chip in there too. We'll get the whole gang. Let's get the whole gang. So there you have it, folks. Go see Chip is here and Bart. Go watch them today on the Drummers Education Connection and learn the importance of great time and playing to the click. I have so much I would add. I know so much in my mind right now because I'm passionate about that subject. Very passionate about that subject for a lot of different reasons. So I'm not going to steal their thunder yet, but it'll be good. It'll be good conversation. I can't wait to join in and weigh in on today's subject. I think it's just, if you're playing music in the modern age, those tools are a necessity to have. So there you go. Thanks for joining me on the Drummergy podcast. I will be back next Tuesday and possibly with a guest, and have an amazing week. All right. And Bart and Chip, I will see you guys in a couple hours, at least virtually. All right, my friends, have a great one, and we will talk to you later. Bye.